Um, the pain's indescribable, it's overwhelming, but what's equally overwhelming is just feeling all the love that we have in our lives from all of you. We truly are blessed. Today we're here to say goodbye to our boy, but we're also here to tell you the story, his story, our story, in hopes that you can take something from it that might help or inspire you in some small way. It's a story about love and joy and anguish and pain. It's about beautiful highs and crushing lows. It's a story that doesn't have a happy ending unless we take what Nolan gave us and do something good with it. A child could not start life more blessed than Nolan, because he was born to the most amazing mother a child could hope for. She's the most sensitive, attentive, caring, loving, generous, patient, nurturing, selfless mother. Her love was and is wrapped around her children every hour of every day of their lives. She's also an amazing wife, and together we have given our children the gift of a happy, loving, stable relationship between their mom and dad. His baby brother Jake and his baby sister Kayla adored him, and they always wanted to do whatever Nolan was doing. Throughout his life, they stood loyally at his side when he was at his best and his worst. He had the most amazing extended family and friends that are part of our family, including 24 cousins, so many aunts, uncles, grandparents. He even had 2 bonus mothers in Chris and Maya. He also grew up in an incredible community of all of you, teachers, classmates, coaches. In short, he was loved, and the seed of Nolan's life was planted in the most soul-enriching soil you could imagine. Our early life truly felt like it was a fairy tale. But fairy tales aren't real, and frankly, life wouldn't be fulfilling if they were, because you can't really have the greatest joy without pain, or contentment without hardship, or peace without struggle, or love without grief. Nolan was a handsome, hilarious, quirky, adventurous, mischievous, witty, loving, and loyal boy and man. He had a spark inside him that was special. His joy and his energy were contagious. His heart was so big. He gave us all the gift of laughter. He had a brilliant mind and a unique talent for creative expression in everything he did. There's so many amazing memories in his almost 24 years of life. But a few of our favorites include the sock puppet shows he performed for Michelle and I. Of course, he was the director, and Jake and Kayla were his co-stars. When he was the lead singer of the Soggy Chips rock band that him, Jake, and Kayla formed. When he would try to cheer up his little brother and sister when they were sad by doing silly things and talking to them in the sweetest, most nurturing voice. The endless number of silly videos he made with his brother and sister and friends. The numerous crazy characters he invented. Most are too inappropriate to discuss. His love for annoying his family and friends by playing Mambo No. 5, or the Titanic theme song played on the recorder over and over and over again. Or when he strategically placed life-size cardboard cutouts of Ronda Rousey and George Bush throughout the house to scare the hell out of his family. Or how he was so protective and fiercely loyal to those he loved. And his incredible talent for writing, despite the fact that he didn't take any writing classes or courses, and he didn't even read that much. We included one of his stories in the program just because the way he describes the characters passing from this life to the next is something that we sort of hope he experienced. There are so many stories of joy and happiness that Nolan brought to all of those around him. And that's how we will remember him forever. But we don't want to sugarcoat the full reality of Nolan's life, because the tragedy and the happiness are both part of the story. We are the sum of our parts, and parts of Nolan were defective. That's the only way I know how to describe it. I'm referring to his mind and the mental illnesses that afflicted him. From the time he was a toddler, we could see that Nolan was a complicated boy, so we sought help early. When he was 9, he was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. When he was 12, he was diagnosed with severe depression. At 13, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And from the time he was around 9 or 10, he had this fear and paranoia of the world around him that led him to feel the need to prepare to protect himself and his family. With the help of several different doctors, numerous medications, and a stable and loving environment, Nolan progressed through adolescence and he got through high school. I wouldn't say he survived because he constantly struggled with his moods and he never was truly happy. I'm not saying he didn't experience any joy and happiness, but even during his happier days, there was an emptiness in him. From the time he was a teenager, he would often say he wasn't going to live a long life. In his writing, you could feel the darkness and the pain in him. Like many that suffer with bipolar disorder, he felt highs and lows to an extreme, which is something that haunted him for his entire life. His happiest times were when he was with his friends and family, being the crazy, funny Nolan we all knew and loved, or doing adventurous, often risky activities. He was never content to just hang out and watch a movie or read a book or go to the mall. He was always chasing the next high. But because he felt the highs so deeply, everything else made life feel colorless, as he would describe it. If he didn't feel high, he wasn't happy. Then in college, things took a turn for the worse when he started abusing alcohol and Adderall. He had to drop out after 1 year because his depression, mania, and paranoia were getting worse. Nolan's life reached a crescendo in February of 2021 when he fell in love. It was the happiest time of his life. He described it as heaven. For the first time in his life, he seemed fulfilled and content. Being in love was the one thing that got him sober. And it was a blessing to have him sober for those 4 months. Elizabeth, thank you for loving your son. He loved you so deeply. We're so grateful that our boy got to experience the magic of being in love before he left. But sadly, even being in love wasn't enough to keep his demons from overwhelming him. He went back into the darkness. And when he lost his love, he was broken beyond words. We brought him back home to grieve and to be surrounded by our love and support. But it wasn't enough. He wouldn't let us help him, partly because he was so paranoid that he didn't trust the very people that he should have trusted the most. It's the worst feeling in the world to feel like your child is hanging over a cliff and you have them by the hand, but they pull their hand free, only to fall. At his core, Nolan Christopher Mifsud was a good boy and a good man. He had a beautiful soul. He was empathetic and sensitive. He had love and kindness in him that shined brightly. He had a very strong understanding of what was right and wrong, and he was surrounded by role models and a support system that pushed and pulled him in all the right directions. But his mental illnesses cast such a deep shadow over him, it was a constant battle in his mind, even with his medications. Sadly, the good in him lost most of those battles, and he hated himself for it. He hated himself for the way he treated his parents, for the many betrayals and wrongs that he did to us, for the man he was becoming despite all the support and guidance he received, for depriving his siblings of their parents' time because he was always sucking the oxygen out of the room. He hated himself for knowing the right path, but being unable to get on it, not to mention stay on it. And he hated himself for abusing alcohol and drugs. Michelle and I have lived our life by a motto: love them when they deserve it least, because that's when they need it the most. And that's exactly what we did for Nolan's entire life, all the way to the end. We were always there for him, trying to balance tough love and consequences with lots of hugs, forgiveness, encouragement, and hope. One of the most repeated refrains in the Mifsud family is never give up. That was the message of our beloved Uncle Jim, and it has been a big part of Nolan's life. But some battles are unwinnable. Some puzzles are unsolvable. Some mountains are unclimbable. It doesn't mean we didn't put our heart, mind, and soul into helping our son. And it certainly doesn't mean we gave up. We gave everything we had, and we fought, and we fought, and we fought. And when we thought we couldn't go on, we fought some more, because that's what parents do for their children. But it simply wasn't enough. We included in the program a letter that I wrote for his birthday last year, because it sort of captures the essence of his struggles. Part of the tragedy of Nolan's story, and many others like him, is that we simply cannot help someone that doesn't want to be helped. We cannot save someone that doesn't want to be saved. We can only give them the tools, opportunities, and most importantly, reasons. And then we need to hope and pray and be by their side. Nolan had so many reasons. But that just shows the power of his mental illnesses. I believe love conquers all, and love is what will help us move on forward with Nolan's memory, rather than letting our grief anchor us in place. But sometimes love isn't enough. The one wish of every parent is for their children to be happy and content. A parent's worst nightmare is that their child is suffering. We know that Nolan took his own life to end his suffering, but he didn't give up. He was fighting to the very end. He knew he had so much love and so many reasons to stay. He sent me a few texts telling me he was fighting like hell because his baby sister and baby brother needed him. And as he sat at his desk, about to pull the trigger, he had a note in front of him that his mother had written him a couple weeks before, encouraging him to hang in there, and that he was loved and needed. But we also know that he took his own life to protect his family from the hell that he was putting us through. He killed the darkness in him. But to do that, he had to kill our beloved son. We wish so bad we could have him back, but we can't. What we can do, what we must do, is see this as Nolan's gift to us. He gave us his life so we could be free as a family of the constant fear and stress of seeing your son and brother standing on a ledge in pain, knowing he won't take your hand. For any parent whose child is suffering, you will understand when I say that Nolan's life was a weight that we carried, without complaint, of course, and the weight grew heavier over time. The weight of his life is now replaced with the weight of his death, and it's crushing. But we will bear that weight without complaint as well, because that is all we have left of him. Some will say that we need to move on from the pain, but we will never move on from the pain. We will move on with the pain. And that pain is a small price to pay for the memories we will hold and cherish forever. Jake and Kayla, Nolan's life was very heavy for all of us, but especially for you two. He gave us some of our most fun and joyful times of our lives. But we were all on the roller coaster of stress, worry, anger, fear, anxiety, and grief. For Mom and I, that experience changed us. But for the two of you, that experience shaped you. Now we need to let his death change and shape all four of us. I know his soul is now stripped of all the darkness and pain, and he's looking down on us and telling us he's okay now. And we can stop worrying, and we can stop suffering with him, because his suffering is over. And if we continue to suffer, it will mean his life had no meaning. We are sitting in the darkness right now, so I know you aren't feeling a lot of hope, but this darkness will become light, and we will feel lighter and stronger and hopeful, I promise. Jakey, you spent more time with Nolan than any other person in his life. You are his most trusted person on earth. In fact, you were the only person he truly trusted. Unfortunately, we don't shelter those we trust from the worst in us. So you were exposed to so much for so long, and you suffered in silence. We're so sorry you had to carry such a heavy burden for so many years. Your unending loyalty to Nolan and your love for him was something he was so proud of. I hope you know how much he loved you. He didn't say it or show it often, but he really did love his baby brother. In one of his final texts to me, he said, "Dad, Jake is intelligent and trustworthy, and he's growing and maturing like a MFer. And I love him very much." You are so many of the things Nolan wanted to be but couldn't. And he knew his struggles cast a shadow on your life that impacted your growth. Mom and I are so proud of you, and Nolan was so proud of you. Kayla, you were Nolan's baby girl. He was so protective of you from the day you were born. He even tried to shelter you from many of his darkest days. He was so proud of you. You were like his little twin. In one of his final texts to me, Nolan said that one night when he was feeling suicidal, he said, "I saw flashes of Kayla's life from a curly-haired, diaper-wearing little spaz to the beautiful young woman she is today. I may have lost the romantic love of my life, but that baby girl turned young woman is my real heart. You don't have to worry about your big brother anymore. He's in a happy, safe place, and he's looking down on us. He always said he was going to be your guardian angel, so he will be there whenever you need him. I know it seems impossible to move forward without him, but he will be there with you every step of the way." Nolan, we're so relieved that your soul is finally free from the pain and suffering. Although it breaks my heart that you will never be a husband or father, you will forever be a son, a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a grandson, and a friend in our memories and in the stories we pass on and the way we live our lives. We're so sorry we couldn't find a way to save you. But you know that we always believed in you, and we never gave up on you. We put our hearts and our souls into being the best parents and family we could. Me and Mom and Jake and Kayla want you to know that we forgive you and we miss you. We will love you forever.